What's up, Dragon Brood? It's that time again. Though this time we're bringing in some dude from the place, he says, and it's Dev. How's it going, man?
A likely story. That is what I say. That is what I'm from a place. It's going pretty well over
You could
here,
be like
man.
the old school wrestler, just be from parts unknown.
Unknown, right? I'm from Truth or Consequences.
Yeah, which is a real place, by the way.
You're really in New Mexico. They named it
Yeah.
after a game show. It's
Yeah.
weird. You learn things here on our channels.
But yeah, we got a lot to talk about here because we do have Ninja Turtles releasing right around the corner, and we did just get done recording the overrated cards if you want to go over to Dev's channel and check that out after this video. But we're going to talk about some underrated stuff. So some things that we think are pretty good that might be kind of going overlooked here. And Dev, honestly, I had quite a few I wanted to put on this list.
Yeah, I kind of said this in the overrated video. I feel like the overrated list was relatively easy to make. The underrated, it's like, okay, I got 15 cards for this thing. Like there's so many cards that are going unnoticed under the radar. Maybe because there's a lot of like not love for this set online, but there are a lot of pieces in here that I don't think people are taking seriously. And it's easy to not take Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cards seriously, but I think it'd be a mistake in this case.
I think the bigger issue, and we saw this a little bit, with a couple of cards in the last few sets, where they're mechanically so different than anything we've used before, and they're doing extra things that, while I think people read them and go like, I think I could do something with this, but I don't really know what yet. Right? It's hard to figure out the proper application.
Yep. I think that actually means too, that there's a lot you can do with them. Not just like one or two narrow things. I think a lot of these cards, it's not immediately apparent what you're supposed to do, but like actually there's like 20 things you can do. So
Yeah.
I'm excited, honestly, for some of the cards in the set, and I'm doing a top 10 sleepers list over on my channel in the next couple of days, and that's going to be hardcore sleepers. Now, a lot of the stuff I've got on my list are cards that you might be aware of or that are pulling a couple of dollars on pre-sale right now, but I think they're even better than they're getting credit for, a lot of the cards on my list. So
and let me also say this before y'all rush to the comments and be like, Ninja Turtles, whatever. Just know if you're just gonna hop in and do that, then like your stuff's just gonna get deleted. You're gonna get yeeted to the hide user from channel button, and we'll never see it again. So
everyone
just
loves
letting you know,
button.
Yeah. Dude, the set's already gonna come out. Like, we're just talking about cards that are gonna be around anyway, and helping people that one just are gonna have to play with it anyway in standard, and you know what to look for, or the people who are genuinely fans of Ninja Turtles and want to buy some of these and they want some insight on cards, right?
Yeah,
Don't hate us for being positive and having some fun with some Magic cards.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I've seen a lot of people being like, "Oh man, how do you feel about having to cover this set?" And it's like, I like this set's fine.
I like Magic cards.
Yeah, believe it or not, there are people who are okay with this. I've been playing Magic for 30 years and I'm okay with this. It's fine. I don't mind.
A very sad thing, and we'll get into the cards here in just a second, but there is a very sad thing that we see a lot online where if you're positive about anything, people assume you're a shill in some way.
Yep.
Right? People are like, oh, Wizards must have paid you to make this video, or they must have given you this thing. Or it's like, no, if y'all listen to my podcast, we literally call them out when they screw up.
Right.
Like, it's not even a thing. Like, feel free to check out Color of Magic. We call out a lot of companies when they do some things. So whatever. And Wizards knows it, and it's fine. But when things are good or things are fun, like, we're going to talk about it.
Yep. Yeah. Extra shout out for Color of Magic, by the way. You should listen to that podcast. But it's a good, you do a good job. But
let's get into some cards, man. We're here for Ninja Turtles.
Let me just piggyback on what you said for a quick second. I've seen everyone from you to me to the professor to Krim to Seth. Everyone involved in Magic the Gathering has gotten accused of like shilling for this set. They don't send us money. They don't send us cards. They don't send us nothing. Or at least me, they don't. So I just like what I like, and we're allowed to like what we like.
I will say this, because you have to say so. Every time I've been involved with anything directly with Wizards, it's obvious, right?
Yeah,
it's either an ambassador thing, or like last weekend I was doing commentary for the Arena Championships, right? Like, it's obvious. Any other time, it's just me.
Yeah. Our opinions are our own, and it turns out people can have an opinion a little different than yours, and it's fine. That's fine. As I've
But
said,
yeah,
last thing I'll say here is that there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, and if this is what you're the most upset about, you're doing it wrong. But
yeah,
yeah.
that's the truth.
But let's go ahead and move on, I suppose. If you want to look at some
All right.
cards, I'm down, baby.
I'm gonna let you open because I think we'll have it. We may not even actually. There's so many underrated. We probably don't
Right.
have duplicates. So what do
Yeah.
you have at number 5?
I'm afraid that our lists are entirely different, but let's find out. My number 5 is Improvised Arsenal. And equipment, and I'm not usually a huge fan of equipments, but I like this thing, man. This is 2 mana, 1 and a red for an equipment that equips for a single red mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. You can pay 4 and a red to create a token that is a copy of this equipment. This card is incredibly cheap to cast and equip for what it actually does. You know, you're always going to get +1/+0 because it's an artifact. But with all of the little cheap artifacts and little cheap artifact tokens running around standard, you can get on the board really, really fast with stuff like Pinnacle Emissary in standard. We got a card in this set for 2 mana that makes Mausers like all the time. There are so many ways to get like literally 10 artifacts on the table very quickly, or at the very least 6. So I could very easily see this being a 2 mana equipment that equips for as cheap as possible and gives a creature +4/+0, like very, very quickly. So I think this is actually very nasty, and you can copy it too, and it costs a bunch of mana to do it, but you can. It didn't even have to do that, and I kind of would have liked it. But I think that Arsenal is actually a relatively big bonus for really cheap, reasonably early. So how do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's actually a reasonable card. I think the thing that's tough and why it's probably just gone ignored largely is because it's hard to get excited about equipment,
It
right?
really is.
You
Yep.
know, because you're like, well, I have to get this thing and I have to have a creature, and what does the board look like? But this is an interesting one in the sense that if you're already doing something that's, you have any of the cards that are making treasure every turn or making clues every turn, right? We've seen a few different ways to do that. This could fit into those type of builds fairly easily. And you may not even need a 4 of, even just 2 of these, like when it shows up and you
Yeah.
equip it for what, 3 mana or whatever, like, you know, it's like, all right, sure. I get to equip it and immediately just start going to town for like +6 or
That's
whatever.
just it. Is if you have like a flyer or something, then it just costs 3 mana to start banging in for, like you said, 5, 6, 7, depending on what the base power of the creature is.
And the
That is
benefit,
not much.
in this set, there's a bunch of stuff that makes artifacts, but there's also things that also are in red and white already, like nesting bots and things like that. So like
Mhm.
even if the board gets swept, you're like, great, I'll just equip and still attacking for like 4 or 5, right? With these tokens that are left over. So there's probably a world where this could get some play.
There's a number of aggressive artifact aggro builds from, Boros to Izzet to Jeskai, right? You just do both. And I think that I think that, if I draw like a hasty creature on turn 6 or something, equip it for a single mana and get in for a bunch. This also helps when, think about this. You go Spyglass Siren on turn 1. This is just Bone Splitter, like immediately. Um, and apart from anything after that, it gets much better. If your opponent get lost, it's one of your creatures. Suddenly, this gives an extra +2/+0 because you got the map tokens on your side. So I don't know, man. I think there's kind of a lot to this that I really like. Now it has to find the right build, and it's probably only good in like one build, but I think it's really, really good in that one build. And, it goes in like Freya Crescent and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
honestly,
uh,
the interesting thing on this card is that it's still going for like $4 or $5 on a lot of
yeah,
sites, right?
yeah, that's kind of what I mean by like these are not cards that are 100% forgotten or not seen. I just think they're better than their current price. You got cards going for $20 in this set that aren't very good to me. You got stuff going for $5. It looks insane, and that's kind of where this is.
Yeah, that's a weird one when I saw it and went, wow, other people also believe something here. It's a 4 or 5 bucks. Like, okay, cool.
Yep, it's creeping up a little bit. It's actually gone down. It was like $10 a couple of days ago,
Yeah,
but
that is too high for that.
that's
But
ridiculous, right?
yeah.
But now that we're sitting at like $4 or $5, I'm like, okay, I think that's actually officially underrated at this point. I really do. This is a pretty wacky looking equipment, in my opinion. But what do you have for your number 5?
I'll be honest, when I looked at this card, I thought it was going to be going for more than it was, which is how it made my list fairly quickly. But Raphael the Nightwatcher.
Oh, this card is insane. What's it
Two
going for?
it's going for only the regular versions are like $6.
That's
But
that's yeah, that's a good deal for this. This
2
card's
red
crazy.
red for a 2/3 mutant ninja turtle. It has sneak of 1 red red. Attacking creatures you control have double strike.
What an
That's it.
amazing line of text.
No notes, ship it.
Yep.
Right? Like just like, okay, all my dudes get double strike? Yeah. Okay. Right? And because even this, like if you're playing just a regular red aggro deck, there are tons of times you're like, play a lizard on one, play whatever, a mouse on two, you're attacking. With mana up, your opponent's like, well, I don't want to block because you'll prowess something or you'll pump the lizard. It's like, whatever, I'll just take four, you know. And you're like, oh no, never mind. How about seven,
Yeah.
eight? Like whatever. Just piles of
More.
extra
Yeah.
damage. Like crazy, right? Like, and not only that, you might just play it straight up and then just attack. You know what I mean? It's like I got nothing else to do for the turn. I'll just play a 2-3 and just attack with these. Whatever. Everybody has double strike. Like, I don't like this card, honestly, kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah. There was a guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but there was a dude that cost like 4 Boros hybrids a few years ago. Basically had this exact same line of text. Attacking creatures you control have double strike. That card saw play, you know? This is a Berserker's Onslaught. That's a 5 mana commander card. It's an enchantment that literally has this exact line of text on it. And people play that card like crazy in commander and like red attacking decks. This is, especially for as cheap as it is mana wise, standard legal. I mean, like you've already said, just piggybacking again, even just playing this for 4 mana, still good. Like it still has an effect on the table the turn that you play it. And you might even decide to back it up by a turn. Like, oh, I don't have a great attack on turn 3. There's no reason to sneak this. I'll just play a 3 mana creature. Turn 4, Raphael, everything gets in for double strike. Like there are reasons to play it for 4 instead of 3.
Let me interest you in this, right? We play turn 1 Llanowar Elf. We play a turn 2 Surak, the 4-3 with Trampler, can't be countered, that guy, right? And then we play this on 4. We're not even sneaking it in. We're just like, cool, I have a 4-3 double striker with Trample.
Yeah. With Trample, dog.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just straight up, like, it just,
Yep.
what do you
Really
do
good.
with that, right?
Really good line there.
Yeah, and that's not even like an unreal, that's just a normal thing, right? You don't
The
even
fun
have to,
thing is, if you do try to break that lineup, I draw cards.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Right? So I'm like, this has to be better than a $6 card.
Has to be.
But maybe it's
Yeah.
not. Maybe it's like a $5 card, but it's got to see some play, right?
Yeah.
And I don't see
Yeah.
hardly anybody talking about this card, but this has to be playable in multiple
Yeah.
formats even.
This kind of has like standard finisher all over it, like mono red finisher, you know?
Yeah.
And if you can finagle, like if you can get together a couple of trample creatures lower on the curve or whatever, we know how good trample and double strike go together. So yeah, man, I'm with you.
Dude,
This card is
or I
absolutely
just had this thought.
nuts.
What if you did like a goblins deck or a Boros Gobbler? Because you're like, yeah, I'll pick up a 1/1 token to give all my stuff double strike.
Right. Seems good. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it really does. I think that a lot of, just the mono red deck right now that plays, the 1 mana lizard into a Razorkin Needlehead into a 3 mana haster like that, the normal mono red deck could really get by a card like this, and note that even in like a normal mono red deck, I know this is kind of a late-ish play, but imagine like sneaking a Sunspine Lynx back to your hand and then
Yeah.
replaying that, or
I mean,
sneaking anything with an ETB trigger, right?
you just don't even need to do a lot to make it work. And it's scary enough that once you're under, let's say, 9 life, you're now concerned with maybe having to block everything.
Yeah, you don't know when Raph's going to come down,
Yeah.
Like if they have like a 2-power guy, you're like, man, I'm going to take 4 off that dude, like it. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's like you let through a 3-power dude and you're just about dead. So yeah, you're in lightning strike range. So yeah, man, I don't know why more people, this looks like it should cost at least twice as much as it's currently pre-ordering.
I will say this though, even if it is a thing that only shows up as a 2 of or whatever in some lists, maybe a 3 of, I'm just surprised I didn't hear more hype about this because I read it and just went like, yeah, this has to be playable, right?
Yeah. Since, I've probably read through this set 10 or 12 times at this point. Every time I hit on this card, I'm like, man, you're really good. You're so good.
It just has to be playable. I can't believe that it's not.
Good catch on that. That really should have ended up on my list. Honestly, that's fantastic.
All right. So what do you got for number 4?
My number 4 is a really expensive man. This is a Armaggon Future Shark. So this is 8 mana, 6 and double black for a 9/6 legendary shark horror mutant with flash. When it enters, destroy up to 3 creatures, which is so many creatures. My take on this is that any creature that costs more than 4 mana costs 4 mana. So Would you pay 4 mana for this guy? I don't
Yeah.
know if I'd pay 4 mana above Bringer of the Last Gift and the combo deck or Valgavoth. I mean, there are other reanimator targets. There's a good reanimator target in this set, the 9 mana Krang, that's an artifact creature. So I don't know if this is the best reanimator target to bust the game open, but I do think this is a really good, sneaky little fun of like silver bullet in reanimator decks to help recover when you need to do that. It's a good sideboard card in reanimator decks against go wide piles and stuff like that. The card doesn't win the game when it comes down, but I do think it demoralizes into scoops a fair amount. Killing 3 guys is crazy, and once you reanimate it, well, now you can sacrifice it and reanimate it again, or you can blink it and kill 3 more guys if they do rebuild. So, and I feel like if they do rebuild and you blink this, that forces the scoop. So, again, if a creature costs 8 mana, no, it doesn't. Is my point here. So how do you feel?
Honestly, I've gone back and forth on this one because I feel like there is a world where this could be the reanimator card of choice.
Hmm.
I wouldn't even be surprised, once we get another 2 years down the road and some other cards rotate, then this
Yeah.
becomes the card of choice. But there could be some weird world where you are blinking this every turn, right?
Yeah.
And then your opponent just never gets creatures. I find it also like I get it for like flavor purposes, it has flash, but like it's kind of funny that it has flash, right?
A little bit, right. An 8 mana flash guy.
Yeah, like is this a thing we're really flashing onto the battlefield? Like we're almost
I
never
will
doing that.
say, if you unlock the achievement of like flashing this in on your opponent's combat step, you probably win the game because you did that.
Oh
But
yeah, I can't imagine you're losing there.
yeah,
But yeah, it's an interesting card. It's one I definitely thought about. Like, is this the best reanimator target? Obviously, when you can use Bringer of the Last Gift or whatever, like sure.
yeah,
But this could also be played with Bringer of the Last Gift,
yep.
right? Because sometimes your opponent is getting a couple things out of the yard, and it's like, okay, well now you're guaranteed you're the only one with anything
With creatures,
after
yep,
that. So
exactly.
it could go into those lists, honestly. Like it's a pretty crazy card for what it is. Again, flavor wise, it kind of makes sense and it's all good, but it could be a really strong contender for a reanimator list.
It's imagine if you will, and I don't think this is Christmas Land. I don't think. But check me if it is. Imagine a situation where your opponent goes to attack and you cast Smuggler's Surprise, and you play
Sure.
this and the Vaultborn Tyrant. So what are you doing? You're killing 3 guys, gaining 6 and drawing 2. That's probably 1, right? So there's a lot you can do with this, I guess is my point.
That's not
You
a
know?
crazy thing if you wanted to say maybe make a Jund version
Yeah.
that doesn't win with Calamity. And you're like, okay, I'm going to play a
Mhm.
couple more legends and like random encounter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You
Right?
random
Like,
encounter into this, you're doing good.
so
Yeah.
that's a reality. I could see that.
Hey, man. I just think that creatures with this kind of ETB trigger are just always something you need to pay attention to because, 8 mana is a lot of mana, but it's also a trick. It's a trick. They want you to think it's too expensive. It's not. It's cards that cost 10 mana or whatever.
Yeah, you're rarely
All those
paying
cards cost
retail.
4. Right. You're not exactly. You're getting a discount on this guy. So with that in mind, yeah, I think if, again, with Superior Spider-Man, because we've been talking about the deceit plays with Superior Spider-Man. We've been talking about the Bringer of the Last Gift and stuff. But I think in a deck with Superior Spider-Man that can just become this or whatever, can it even do that? Hold on. How does Superior Spider-Man work? If it can become this, then
Yeah.
suddenly, it can. All right. So
Yeah.
I was making sure it wasn't like creatures with power,
Nope.
this or less. Yeah. So if Superior Spider-Man can just be this on turn 4, yeah, I think the card is very good.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I think that maybe it's the correct price. I think the card is like, yeah, it's funny enough. It's 420. I think some people would say you'd have to be high to like this card, but I do like the card, and I'm not high right now. So I think that it's definitely worth pointing out, if nothing else. Card's good.
Yeah. I'm here for it.
Hey man, I think you're on 4 here.
This is it's funny. We didn't coordinate these, by the way, but I also have a black card. And this is one I thought might make your list, so I almost didn't put it on mine. But Southwind Avatar.
This is one of my favorite cards in the set.
Exactly.
It didn't
So
make
I'm
my
like,
list, but I do love this
I'm kind of
card.
putting it on my list, but Dev might have it on his. But 3 and a black for a 3/4 Snake Spirit Avatar. just a regular creature, by the way, not a legend. It does have death touch. When another creature you control dies, you gain life equal to its toughness. And then when you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. Obviously, this has aristocrat stuff written all over it.
Right. Right.
But if you're already playing a deck like something along the lines of the Raise the Pass decks that want to like sacrifice stuff and whatever, anyway, if we're playing now, you could even build a deck that's just a bunch of life drained creatures,
Yeah,
right?
literally just that. Starscape Cleric and this, I think Marauding Blight Priest is in
Yeah,
Foundation.
exactly. There's so many, right? We
So,
have at least a good 6 or 7 creatures that some combination of creature dies, your opponent lose life, you gain life.
the Bloodthirsty Conqueror, Enduring
Yeah.
Tenacity, or Enduring whatever the black one is. I think it's Enduring Tenacity.
Yep. So
Um,
like this could already
yeah.
all just be a thing. And it happens to have death touch for no good reason on
Yeah,
top of
just
everything else.
has that.
Yeah, it just does. And I think it's priced about right. It's in the $5 or $6 range. I think this is going to be popular for all of those commander decks that are
Yeah.
sacrificing a bunch of creatures or permanents for various things.
Well,
So
your Amalia Benavides Aguirre, like your black, white
yeah,
life gain decks and stuff. It's fantastic.
yeah. So I
Enough
think it
commander
fits
decks.
perfectly there. Mhm.
Enough commander decks play Marauding Blight Priest and Starscape Cleric. Enough commander decks play those cards that I think this is just like it's a more expensive version of them mana wise, but in most ways it's a better version of them too.
Yeah, it's harder to
Um,
remove, right? Because a lot of stuff that deals 2 or 3 to creatures that would wipe your board otherwise, don't get rid of this. It does keep your opponent from attacking with their best thing on the ground because
yep.
you have a death toucher. So,
The
like,
death
yeah.
touch is so good.
And if your opponent does wipe the board, okay, great. You probably gained like 15 life.
Right. So that's the thing is it kind of works with itself in a way that not all of these kind of cards do. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this. I think for 4 mana, it's probably a little bit priced out of standard, but in Commander, I think this is actually like one of the more exciting cards in the set. But we might be surprised by this in standard, right? This might be the actual piece that Black White Life Gain needed at the top of its curve. Because I think Bloodthirsty Conqueror is too expensive. I don't think Enduring Tenacity does enough the turn it comes into play a lot of the time. This might do a little bit more, depending on kind of how you set things up. So,
Yeah, I was thinking about
you
it.
know,
There are enough cards in mono black even that just directly drain your opponent's life total. Like
oh yeah, there's a lot.
you have the 1/1 cleric that when it dies, drains your opponent. You have Sephiroth still.
Yep.
Like there's 2 other ones I think that are 2/2s that also do it. So like
Yeah.
that could just be a deck.
Yeah, that's another
Yeah.
thing is I keep talking about Orzhov decks. It could just be a mono black deck because of this guy
Yeah.
at the top end of the curve. And I'm with you. I think there's something to this guy. I didn't have the courage to put him on my list because I don't know about standard, but like there is a chance because this dude he's pretty good. 4 mana is a lot, but he's pretty good.
Now I will
Undeniably.
say I do think the price is still going to come down a little bit on this one.
I do too.
I think
Yeah.
you'll be able to get it for probably about $3 if you're patient. So you can wait on it, I think, but I think the card could still be a lot of fun and be worth it.
I mean, this is speculative for sure, but I feel like if this goes down to like $2, I'm scooping up some copies,
Oh
dude. 'Cause I
yeah,
feel like
two
this is one of
dollars.
those.
It's a no brainer.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
like 5 years, I feel like this will be worth something.
yeah,
Like I said, people freaking love Marauding Blight Priest, like effects. It's just a better one. So yeah, you can
yeah.
play this
People
card.
love any of these type of aristocrat effects, where it's like your
Mhm.
opponent loses life, you gain life, whatever.
It's my favorite thing in Magic.
People love these, right? We see it all the time. Even any of the uncommons or whatever, they always go for a couple of dollars, whatever. People always want those. So
Ellis Core, my favorite commander, an uncommon from a rotated set, and she's like 250 right now. So
yeah,
she's the
so
best
would not
aristocrats
be
commander.
wouldn't be surprised at all if this card goes up over time. But I do think there is a floor in the $2 or $3 range that you'll be able to pick these up.
Yeah, agreed. And I think you should scoop him for that too, man. This is a good card.
All right, so we're on number 3 now for you.
3 for me. Yeah. Thank you for including Southwind avatars. Great. My next is, I believe you pronounce this character's name Renet or Renet, Temporal
Yeah.
Apprentice. This is 5 mana, 3 and double blue for a 4/3 legendary human wizard with flash. When she enters, return each other non-land permanent that entered this turn to its owner's hand. Now, one thing I like about this card is that aside from the turtle in the background, this looks and sounds like a magic card. Renee Temporal Apprentice, very Magic the Gathering-y, which I think some people will be into. But honestly, I feel like this just time walks the opponent and also puts a 4-power creature into play. Like not every turn, but there's going to be a lot of turns if you're just playing standard Magic that your opponent effectively just taps out and plays like 2 things. and you negate that entire turn, leave them tapped out, and you have a 4-power guy. This seems super swingy and annoying to me. Like, how do you feel about it?
My main issue, because I thought about this card and I was like, would I rather have this than Aetherize? And that was a hard decision for me.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Volcano
know.
Stos in mono blue.
Honestly, like it's that felt closer to me than it should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
We
I
don't play Aetherize as much as we should, you know?
yeah, and
So,
that's why I was just
yeah.
like, man, this is a tough space to make that decision. But I do see where you're going with this though, right? Just even if it just bounces one thing and you get to flash it in and block something, that's fine,
Yeah.
right? There also are going to be times though where you kind of have to decide when to commit on it. And I think that's going to be the
Yeah.
hardest part of, do I just play it to get a 4/3 so I can just open up stuff on the next turn? Or am I just going to sit on this to try to get the value out of it? And I think
Yeah.
that's the toughest part about cards like this, because I think when you don't get the value you want, you're going to feel kind of bad, right? I paid 5
Yeah.
mana for a 4/3. But when you do get the value, it's going to feel so good.
Good. Yeah, this card is going to feel all powerful. If you actually like, oh, you had a good turn this turn. How about you return 4 things to your hand? You know what I mean? Like, that's going to feel great. But I do feel like the reason why I'm not like all in on the card is because against a lot of decks, it, like you said, Aetherize, against Ouroboros, Aetherize would be a perfectly fine play. Whereas against Ouroboros, they get their Ouroboros on 4. You can't play Renet till 5. They're coming in with a million Ouroboros guys, and you can't do anything about those. You can just take care of the guys they played this turn. That's not good. So
Now,
in certain control decks, though, I think you can set this up pretty nicely, and it can even be like a pseudo win condition if you're doing it right.
yeah, I will say, let me say this though for the card, right? There, it is going for $5. So people do believe in this card.
Yeah.
And there is a world where you could have, say, like an Azorius airbending type deck, and then at the end of turn, you're just bouncing whatever the thing your opponent played that turn.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a thing that could happen. Because you use your airbender ascension, blink this thing, it re-enters the battlefield, it bounces whatever the last thing was your opponent played. Right? Something like that isn't that far of a stretch.
Nah.
Or any blink effects at all for that matter.
Yeah, I was gonna
Right?
say, I mean, you're in blue white, you have like parting gust and
Yeah.
stuff. If your opponent does try to rebuild after you hit a good Renet, then just parting gust it at the end of their turn, and they lose all their guys again. So,
So I could see that.
Maybe. I
Especially
think that.
in a deck where you're already playing like Avatar Aang,
Mhm.
the
Yep. Well,
the
other flash guys like that.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
it could work. It could work.
Yeah, I think this also curves very nicely with sweepers. If you go like Day of Judgment on 4, well, your opponent's going to try to rebuild, in the next couple of turns. So when you get to untap, you say go, then, if they try to rebuild any more on the next turn, then you can just renege and wipe all that progress. So I think that there are good things about it. Let me just put it that way. I don't know if it's quite there, but I think that this could be, I guess I'll use this word again, really annoying. I think this card could be super irritating when cast in the right spot. And there's a chance it rots in your hand. You kind of brought this up earlier. There's a chance this rots in your hand, or it isn't relevant the turn it needs to be.
Yeah.
But I think there's just enough there that this might outperform expectations. I guess I'll put it that way. This is one of the few cards that I'll say this doesn't look like a super commandery card. I mean, it could be, right? Could be really powerful there, but this looks more like a competitive Magic card to me than just about anything we've looked at. So I got some faith in her. I do, man. I think she might be all right.
Well, all right, man. Let's talk about something else here, because we actually didn't line up our
Okay.
colors this time. So
Okay.
this time I have a red card. But this one's one genuinely, I thought this was going to be worth more when I looked it up. And it's Ravenous Robots.
This is in my top 10 like overall cards I think this card is extremely good.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm really surprised. I haven't seen people going on about this, but 1 in a red for a 2/1. It's an artifact creature robot. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless robot artifact creature token. Pay a red, tap it. Creature tokens you control gain haste until end of turn.
Busted
Just,
Magic card.
it just feels like there's a ton of stuff you could do with this. Right? Like, I mean, let's say you have like a, I don't know, kin binding every turn. All right, great. I'm already making a token. The tokens can have haste. They're going to get bonuses, right? I'm already playing a bunch of other artifacty things. Maybe I'm doing affinity stuff or whatever. Like everything I play is making another 1/1. There's a bunch of other things that just make tokens in general. All your tokens could now have haste, especially if you're doing Boros where you have like an Elspeth or something and you get double tokens and they all have haste. Right?
Nasty.
It
Yeah.
just feels like there's a bunch of ideas for this card that you
Yep.
don't have to try very hard. Like if you
Yep.
have anything that's already making tokens, this just fits right in.
And an aggressive kind of, whether it's a Boros, like an Impacale thing that cares about artifacts. And there's a bunch of Boros stuff that cares about artifacts in the set. Arabella also happens to
Yeah.
be an artifact creature. So there's that. But in, curving this into a Pinnacle Emissary in Is It is insane because Pinnacle Emissary is effectively the same card. It just makes 1/1 flyers for 3 mana, which this makes little ground guys. You've got a lot of cheap artifacts in Standard that are pretty decent, even all the way down to stuff like Synthesizer Lab Ship, which effectively makes a 2/2 flyer for you every turn for a single blue mana. There are even like Ginger Brute counts. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
could go aggressive with your Is It deck, aggressive with your Boros deck, or you could do the thing where you play like Boros sweepers with artifacts. You know what I mean? And at that point, you could just like sweep the board. But whenever I play artifacts, I get guys. There are a lot, like you said, so many ideas for this card. And just like Corey Still Cutter. Corey Still Cutter was a ridiculous magic card that had to be banned and all that. This is nowhere near the level of Cutter, but it has the same thing going for it where it is really difficult to remove with a lot of what we've got going on in Standard. And you don't even have to play 2 spells a turn for this. Just play an artifact and you get a 1/1 guy. And that is actually a lot of board presence for like reasonably cheap. So yeah, man, this card, how much is it right now? Do you got to pull it up?
It's like $6.
That's nothing. That's nothing for what this is. I mean, it might go down because pre-order prices, all that.
Sure.
So I'm not saying pick it up right now, but I do think this card is ludicrous, absolutely insane. Like one of the best cards in the set. So
Thing is, it's
good
good
choice.
it's good in multiples, right? Because whatever. Like now everything makes 2 things.
Yep.
But you're just getting value from every card you play, right? An artifact of any kind, doesn't matter if it's creature or non-creature, just generates more value. And there's tons of things in the set that care about artifacts. There's
Artifacts.
a lot of stuff already that existed in Standard that you could sacrifice artifacts and get benefits or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, this has to be play. Like if this isn't playable, I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know, dude.
It has to be,
Yep.
right?
I'm with you. They've been kind of pumping up the artifacts deck over the last like few months, the last few sets. Like I feel like artifacts deck gets something in every set. And this is just I believe this is an unbelievable tool. Just insane. I can't believe. In some ways, I think this might actually be the best Standard card in the set, but I don't want to go that far just
I don't
yet.
know about that, but like the card is really good though.
I have massively high hopes for this card. I think this is great in like weapons manufacturing piles. There's like 1,000 decks this goes in. And we haven't even talked about the AA yet. The activated ability is actually very good.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing Pinnacle Emissary or like you brought up earlier, like an Elspeth deck at the top of the curve, you could make like 5 tokens in a turn pretty easily. And this gives them haste for a single mana. That's all it takes is 1 mana.
Mm-hmm.
Card is pushed. Card, I think, is very obviously pushed. So, yeah, fantastic. Like I said, this is my top 10 cards in the set for sure. For sure.
All right, we're probably not going to be as excited about anything else the rest of this video, but
probably not. That card is jacked, stacked, racked, packed, like whatever, dude. That card is insane.
But yeah, what's your number 2 regardless?
Whew, all right, so my number 2 is another one that I am pretty excited about, and that is one that this card is the cheapest card we've talked about. This card is $1.60 as we have this conversation, and I think that it is crazy. This is Madam Null. Power Broker. This is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 1/3 legendary demon advisor with death touch. Whenever another creature you control enters, you may pay life equal to its power. If you do, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Now I got 2 things I'm going to bring up here. Number 1, Cecil, which wants to lose life.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Ouroboros, which this curves into very nicely. And I feel like those are the only 2 options I really need to, it's so good with both of those guys that I think it'll find a home in one or the other. And it doesn't hurt that it goes really well with a bunch of other creatures in those decks. Like, okay, I played a Elegy Acolyte on turn 4 after this. Sure, I paid 4 life. I have an 8/8 life linker right now. Like, That seems like it was probably worth it. I play a Sinkhole Surveyor with this in play. Okay, I got a 2-power flyer, and it only cost me 1 life. There's a lot. Deep Cavern Bat is now, for 1 life, Deep Cavern Bat is a 2-power lifelinker that flies. There's a lot you could do with this dude. Like, even if you're only adding 1 counter to some creatures, there's a lot of synergies in this set alone, but in standard at large, that just care about having counters on creatures in the first place. So I don't know why this is like a $150. This card seems really good.
I think there's a world where you could play this in some type of like Golgari +1/+1 counters decks, right? Because
Yeah.
we have the enchantment that you can put a counter on, draw cards, or get
Oh yeah,
menace or
Holomurk
whatever.
Siege. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good
that's a
one.
thing, right? We have some enchantment, the class or whatever that, or the talent that already puts the counters on it. Uh,
The Innkeepers or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a few things you could do where this would already make sense. Obviously also playing stuff like Terra Symbiosis, where
Yeah, more counters.
you pay
You
like a
draw.
4 mana, 4/4, pay 4 life, get 4 cards,
Right.
that
That's
sort of thing.
good.
So like
Pretty good.
there's some spaces where I think this card is playable.
Yeah.
And think about this as a commander card, even like you have more life to spend to
Right.
get more cards.
Like you can pretty comfortably spend 4 or 5 life,
Yeah.
in the beginning and mid game in Commander, so long as you get the right, benefit out of the deal. And I think that she's given you enough, like most of the time, dude. So yeah, I think this card is kind of insane. Just like slightly insane. And no one sees it. Again, it's the cheapest card we've looked at so far. And I think some people are like, you got to pay life. So literally, who cares? Like, there's so many reasons to want to do this, whether it's in lifelink creatures or whatever. And it's worth noting too. This goes. You brought up green black decks. This is a great 3-drop in like Finn the Fang Bearer. Just like
Yeah.
even if you're doing fun stuff with it, it's cool. But I think there's powerful stuff you can do with Madame Null and stuff we haven't even mentioned yet. Bloodletter of Aclazotz. You're only paying 2 life to get counters on it, but now it effectively swings for 8 damage in the air by itself. The
Yeah,
card's good, man.
I think if you're just doing it in the Golgari counters type list, I think it's plenty fine there, right?
Yeah,
You're already playing a deck that has other things that give you value for getting those counters, and this is just bonus, right?
yeah, exactly.
Especially like
Exactly.
we're saying, if you turn the life you're spending into gaining life or into drawing cards, all right, cool. Right?
Yeah.
You're not even going to notice a difference.
And functionally, like the way this actually, like I think there's a wrinkle to this that's harder to see, is that the card has Death Touch. So yeah, it's costing you some life, but also holding back attacks from your opponent so you're not taking as much damage. Holding back attacks so that you actually have multiple turns to use her ability on different creatures. I think that Death Touch makes a massive difference in the way this card actually plays out. I think it's more of a must remove than it appears.
Could also, in a weird way, be played with some type of life linkers as well.
That's what I was saying earlier about like Elegy Acolyte. It's crazy with life linkers.
Because then you're just
even
like,
with just
whatever,
Deep Cavern Bat.
I'll draw my cards or I get my counters and I'll just attack, get the life back anyway. So actually get double the life back technically.
Exactly.
So it's
exactly.
like, whatever.
Yep. Just with like Deep Cavern Bat, this is very good.
Yeah.
So man, 3 mana. I know you can do like Preacher of the Schism, Unstoppable Slasher, and all that for 3 mana, Carsey Revenant. But I still think there's a world where your turn 4 play is good enough that you want this card. So yeah, I think the Madam. I'll be making a call to the Madam.
Exactly.
But what do you got next over there?
All right, so my next one, this is going to be mostly. I like looked at this card and I thought this has to be a card commander players want. Right, I'm going to be really surprised if it's not. Hell, I have a +1/+1 counters deck, and it's definitely a card that I want. But I might be able to find some room for this in standard with Agent Bishop Man in Black.
Oh, this is another one. This card is amazing.
It's,
yes.
it's 2 and a white for a 1/2 human soldier. It is legendary. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. No notes. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's all.
What are we like? Why would we? And it's only $3, by the way.
Yeah. This is shamefully, criminally inexpensive, even in pre-release prices. You get a double Luminarch Aspirant for 1 mana more.
Yeah,
that's so wild. If this stays on the table for 3 turns, you're winning the game.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you put a counter on itself and something else, right?
Exactly.
So even if you only played a creature on 2 and you played this on 3, great, you just put a counter on both creatures.
Yep. Literally, the worst this will ever be is just Luminarch Aspirant, because all it does is put the counter on itself because it's the only
Yeah.
creature you have. And even if it's doing that, like, it's still getting bigger every turn. Your opponent's got to answer that. If you have multiple creatures in play every turn, I think this guy is just like really difficult to beat. Like, how good? I know it doesn't see a lot of standard play, but you know what card is insane every time it is played against me? Halana and Elena Partners.
Yeah, yeah.
And this card is a lot like a 3-mana version of that card that more decks can play. This, I just, yeah, again, I know I kind of freaked out about the last card you brought up in a similar way, but like, this is also on my top 10. Like, I think this is on my sleepers list because I don't know how this is as cheap as it is. This card looks like if you actually resolve it and it stays on the table for a couple of turns, your game of standard is, you're 40% more likely to win that game.
Think about this too. We have enough stuff in Naya colors that does do +1/+1 counters, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the wolf that if you play a human gets a counter, right? You
Yeah,
can play
yeah,
this
yeah.
behind it. You've got Halana Lena, you've got Ouroboros, right? There's a bunch of 1/1s and 2/2 or 1 and 2 mana things that come into play with counters or gain counters or whatever. So that's not that unreal of a thing to even have in standard, right? We have a bunch of ways to take advantage of +1/+1 counters. But like I said in Commander, I would think every commander that cares about +1/+1 counters, like, why would you not want a thing that just gives you 2 counters every turn?
Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned Boroid too. And like, imagine how well this curves into Boroid.
Yeah.
You know, because you can stack the triggers in such a way that Boroid gets the counter from this first, and then his ability goes off. That would be crazy. And then the next turn you do it again, right? Like you give a Boroid another counter, and now everything gets +3 counters, and it's just, yeah, the card can go absolutely crazy. It starts with 1 power. That means that things that care about things that have 1 power care about this. There's a few things in standard. There's a lot that I think this card is capable of. Turn 2 after Alana War Elf. Now it and the elf get counters, right? Like, it's just, even that is a good play.
I just think for me,
So
when I was thinking about this, like I said, even in just terms of commander, before even talking about standard stuff, was like, genuinely, I can't think of a reason that any of the and there's a lot of decks and people playing commander care about +1/+1 counters. Like, every card we see that generates counter stuff always has some value, right?
yeah,
Anything that doubles counters or whatever has value.
people love it.
Why would this not be more than $3?
Yeah.
Like,
Just for the
I
commander players.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
Just,
saying. That
yeah.
alone, no other, even if it has 0 value in standard, this feels better than a lot of the cards I would play in my +1/+1
I'm
counter set.
saying a lot of cards that give you multiple counters in a turn, you have to do something or pay mana. This just sits there and gives you
Yeah.
2 counters for free every turn. That is really good. That's so good. Like, even in Commander, that's really good.
And that usually means you get to
So
trigger multiple things, 'cause, right? In those decks, it's like, if this gets a
exactly.
counter or anything kind of counter happens, you draw a card or whatever. Like, this is just doubling all of that. So I don't get it. This has to be more than $3.
It goes crazy with like hardened scales effects.
Yep.
There is a card in this set called Michelangelo Weirdness to 11 that
Mhm.
is effectively hardened scales that is on curve 1 turn before this.
Yep.
So if you get like Michelangelo Weirdness to 11 into Agent Bishop, you're just throwing counters around like crazy.
Yeah. Well, because then you're
So
getting a +4 for the turn, basically.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then imagine how good your Boroid is the next turn. And it's just, yeah, I think Agent Bishop is a card that somehow, like a true Man in Black, has gone unnoticed under the radar. You know what I mean?
Apparently, like, I genuinely thought this was gonna be at least a $5 card.
I did too. I
Like,
did too. And
I don't get it.
the way it's trending now, once the set's actually out, it's gonna be like $1.50 to grab this card, and I freaking will. Like, this,
Oh, for
this
sure.
card is really
For
good.
sure. Like,
So
if
yeah,
this drops if it goes $2 or lower, I might buy multiples.
yeah, seriously. I agree. I can't agree with you more on some of your picks today. These are lightning. Seriously.
All right. What do you have for number 1? Because I think this is gonna be a fun conversation.
My number 1 is Agent of Treachery. Actually, it's Kitsune Dragon's Daughter. This is
Okay.
6 mana, 4 in double blue for a 6/6 legendary Fox Warlock avatar with vigilance. Whenever Kitsune enters or deals combat damage to a player, you may exchange control of 2 other target creatures controlled by different players. So the idea here is that you can exchange your 1/1 token with one of their best guys. This is not Agent of Treachery. I'm making jokes. Agent can grab any permanent and occasionally draws you cards, but it does cost a mana more. 6 mana. All right. First of all, maybe commander. Let's just throw that out there. But I mean in standard, specifically in Badger Mole Cub decks. Maybe as part of the sideboard, but we see these Badger Mole lists being able to make 6 mana on turn 3 easy peasy. So if you are in the mirror, you can grab their cub and neuter them. You can grab their Ouroboros from them and start putting counters on Kitsune, as well. The thing about this, beside, comparing it to Agent one more time, Agent of Treachery is a 2/3 for 7 mana. This is a 6/6. So you get their best dude and a 6/6. And if they kill your Kitsune, unlike some effects like this, they don't get their guy back. They'll never get their guy back. So I think for 6 mana, it's blinkable too. Like, I think for 6 mana, this is strong, to say the least.
I feel like in some Magic Christmas land, like I'm generating like robot tokens and then just like blinking this.
Yeah.
And just like,
here, have a token.
Yeah. Like, now, will that ever happen? Hell if I know, probably not. But that's why it's Magic Christmas land. Yeah, I don't. This is one I struggled with, honestly, because I feel like it kind of feels like if it does its thing, it's going to feel real good, right?
Crazy good.
But then I also feel like, oh, there's some times like, am I going to have are you going to have a thing I really want to take?
That's another, right? That is an issue.
And then it's like, okay, well, I'll just play a 6 mana 6/6, and I guess that's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not exciting, but it's fine, right? Like, sure.
There's gonna be times where you just elect not to trade anything, and like, I'll get a Vizardrix or whatever, a 6/6 vanilla guy. Like, it's probably okay right now.
Now, that being said, I will admit I am a hater on donate type effects or whatever anyway.
Yeah, sometimes I am too.
Not necessarily my jam. So I'll admit that's probably another reason I just went like, okay, I'll sweep this aside.
Yeah.
But I could also see some times where this gets cast and I'm like, it sucks I lost my Ouroboros.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, especially
like that's going to be a thing that happens.
It's like where this is on curve isn't necessarily an advantage or anything, but it does tend to come down after your opponent's made their best play.
Yeah.
And that could be worthwhile at the very least, right? I think we don't have a whole lot of stuff in standard that just lets us steal something this easily with this much value. It's attached to a 6/6. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It does make you have to have something in play, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I think it can be, you can scrounge something up.
I think you'll still be able to get this even cheaper than it goes for now. I think this will drop to around
was it like $5? It's $3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll drop to $1 and then you can experiment with it.
Yeah. Something like that. I wouldn't go like wasting wild cards on it day one, but I would at least keep an eye, like when you're looking at MTGO and other tournament results, like keep an eye. I am very interested in whether or not this card shows up, whether it's in the 60 or the 75 or whatever at all. Because I think this is the honestly the quintessential example of a card that is better than it reads. Let me put it that way.
I think though it's tough because we've had decks that have tried to do that even recently with like Iroh and whatever, and like they've still struggled to get there. So
the difference is that Iroh sucks and is terrible. Whereas this?
Oh no, but I'm just thinking like other effects that are lower cost can swap other things that aren't creatures. Like that sort of thing.
These decks with like, God, what is it, like Coveted Falcon or whatever it's called? The things that try to like give you a Greed's Gambit to deal with for the rest of the game. I don't think that's what this goes in. I think this is just kind of I'll give you my Spyglass Siren and I'll take your best guy.
Yeah, this is just if you're already playing creatures, you can do the other thing.
And like, if I am doing Badger Mole Cub and I'm playing this on 3, like you can have my Lana Werewolf. It depends on what you have. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I mean, I think there's definitely something there with her, but I am also very interested in what your number one is on.
My number one, interestingly, is a land, and it's Northampton Farm.
Oh yeah, this is fantastic.
This card, like the thing about this card, well, if you don't know what it does, it's a land. It taps for a colorless mana, a literal wingding, not even like generic mana. 1, and you tap it, you exile target creature you own. You can pay 2 and tap it. You sacrifice the land, return a creature card exiled with this land to the battlefield under your control. Return each other creature card exiled with this land to its owner's hand. This feels like one of the better anti-control creature cards.
Yep.
Right?
It does.
Because in those games where your opponent's just loading up on spot removal or even sweepers, you're like, okay, well, during your end step, I'm going to go ahead and exile this thing. Or they're going to shoot the sheriff. You're like, yeah, cool, I'm going to exile it.
Yeah,
Right.
in response, exile.
And then on some future turn, they deadly cover up, Ultima, whatever. Then you're like, okay, cool. I'm going to pay 2, sacrifice it. This thing's going to come back into play. And then the other 3 creatures are in my hand to be played again.
Yep. I just harmonized. Like I drew 3 cards and got a creature on the table.
Yeah.
Good stuff. At the end of your turn or whatever.
Have. Yeah.
It's like you can do it instant. Yeah, you can do it instant speed. So remember how good it felt sometimes to have Witch's Oven back in the day? Like your opponent would try to single target removal something. You're like, just sack it to Oven. Just sack it to Oven in instant speed. Get my food token. You had an exile effect? My guy goes to the graveyard anyway because I can just Witch's Oven him. Cards like that tend to be really good against single target and even blanket removal sweepers and stuff.
Sure.
And even though this costs mana, it effectively costs 2 mana to save a guy because you're tapping 2 lands down.
Yeah.
I still think that there's a world where this is fantastic in a very sweeper heavy kind of standard or very answer heavy kind of standard. And against control, so long as you have like Cavern of Souls or something, right? You can play a little bit slower. You can play to where, okay, I'm going to keep 2 mana up when I play this guy to where now I can, put him up I can send him to the farm. And that's acceptable,
Oh, I just think like worst case scenario, you just leave an extra mana open so you can just get your best thing back if you want to.
If you need to. Yeah. Exactly. Or that's all you really have to do. Because I've got a 5/5. I want that guy.
Somebody said, well, what if they're playing Demolition Field? I'm like, you can still respond to the Demolition Field.
Yeah, you can.
Right?
You absolutely can.
You can
crack it right then and there.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, great. I get a creature back right now, and whatever else is under it goes into my hand.
Yep. And you don't get a basic land.
Yeah.
So I like this. It does look like Commander-ish. Like it looks like a fixed or better like Safe Haven from the Dark. I mean, it's a very old land that they're cribbing from.
Well, nobody played it. It was like a land from one of the Innistrad sets that like you could pay some amount to like exile a thing if you turn it into a creature after you'd exiled so many whatever it was.
That sounds really familiar.
Bad, but like this feels like a much better version of something like that.
Yeah, just any sort of like answer protection in a format where the answers are so good, I'm into. Technically any deck can play this and it's fine. Usually you probably want to play it in monocolored or 2-color decks. I will say we have a lot of very good colorless producing lands right now. Like, you're mono something aggro, you probably play Soulstone Sanctuary. Do you have room for this card? I don't know. But I think a lot of aggro decks will probably play one of, or maybe even a copy in the sideboard against the removal heavy decks.
Yeah.
Because it protects your creatures really well and for like reasonably cheap too. I wish it was just tap it down, but 1 mana is still a reasonable cost I'm willing to pay. So yeah. And I've seen a lot of people just call this a commander card. And I just kind of did a second ago, but I do think this could have some chops in standard. I really do. I'm with you on that.
I had to find the card. The card I was thinking about was Hostile.
Yes, that is the name of it. Yes, I knew it was like a joke name.
Yeah.
That was, no one played that. It kind of looked like an Aristocrats card.
Yeah, and that takes way longer. Like you can sacrifice a creature and you put a counter on it. Then if there's 3 or more, then it flips and you have a creature on the backside. Like a lot of extra work there.
I'd rather just get my actual guys back, which this does,
Yeah.
So yeah, even if I think some people are going to be mad that it doesn't enter the battlefield every single creature, but like even just getting your best dude on the table and 3 dudes in your hand is great. Even if it's just like your best guy on the table and 1 guy in your hand, I think that's still really good against most controlled decks, right?
And and it's also one of those things too where you get these weird board states where your creature isn't going to do anything anymore. Like say you don't need the Line of Wealth anymore, right? You could just start building up what's under the land to set up for your own board sweeper or whatever, right?
Yeah, I was going to point that out too. Like this is good with sweepers in your own deck too. Very.
I guess we already have like Avatar's Wrath if you want to do that, so there's really no need. But
depends on what you're doing.
Having it on a land that you can just use in any color, and like I said, defensively to protect your board effectively, I dig it. I do
too, man. I do too. I like the idea of like repeating enter the battlefield triggers on occasion with a card like this. There's some good stuff about this, there is. And when you crack it, Yeah, just sacrifice it. It doesn't
Yeah.
exile or anything. So you
Nope.
can bring it back and do it again, or there's fun stuff with this baby. So aftermath analyst back into play and do some cool stuff. Put your Lumra up under it and then
Yep.
pop your Lumra out back from under it and you get all your lands back. And it's some fun stuff. Super fun stuff. So yeah, I could see it. I could see it. Altogether, great picks, by the way, today from you. You got some good stuff.
I told you, man, this set has a lot, man. It has a
Yeah.
lot.
It's like I think you picked at least 3 cards that are on like one of my 2 big lists, because like set is full of strong cards. I've seen people fuss about this because it's TMNT and they can't take it seriously or whatever. I have seen very few people say this is a weak set.
Yeah, yeah.
So
that's not the arguments I'm seeing from people. So. And I think there's a lot here for both standard and for commander. Honestly, I think there's a lot that work in both. For much as people that look at stuff and go like, "Oh, that's just a commander card," I'm like, time out.
Hold on now. Right. Yeah, I think you could say that for the last few sets, but like kind of especially for this one, it does seem like they are, I don't know if they're trying to fix the argument because people always say like, "Ooh, a lot of commander cards."
Yeah, but here's the thing, and just being real about it, most of the time when somebody says, "Oh, it's just a commander card," they're saying, "I don't know what the hell to do with it in standard."
That's true.
I mean, let's be real, right? That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
And most of the time when they say that, I ask, "Okay, cool. What commander deck actually wants that card?"
Yeah.
And they don't have
really,
an answer.
Though.
There's like, well, it just must be a commander card, right? And a lot of times it's not even a commander card. It's just a weird, quirky magic card that nobody knows what the hell to do with it.
Yeah, some people think the
those are
cards
going to exist.
Like too expensive for standard or too Christmas for standard or too splashy for standard. And very often those are some of the best cards in standard. Approach of the Second Sun was played. Emergent Ultimatum was played.
And you know what we're doing in standard? Rhythm.
Yep.
Doppelgang.
Right? Like, Nature's Rhythm. People routinely Nature's Rhythm for X = 8 in standard all the time right now. So you can do it. You'd be surprised what you can get in standard, really.
Oh, sure. So, even the crazy like Raphael and whatever, where like it's is it a 5/7 or 7/4 or something with haste and trample, and you mill till you get to a creature and you get the creature in play or whatever. Like,
oh yeah, that thing. Yeah,
it's like I looked at that and went, "This seems kind of dumb," but at the same time, I'm like, "This might be play." I don't know. Like,
who knows? The Raph and Mikey, the 7 mana 7/7 trample haste. Yeah, if you can set the top of your library up, that thing might be all right.
It's trample haste 7 power. Like, even if I just get
a Llanowar Elves off of it, I'm still swinging in for 7.
So
free,
I don't know. Maybe maybe not, but it's hard to just look at stuff and say like, "Oh, that's just a commander card." I'm like, "Okay, cool. What commander deck wants it? Let's have that conversation." Right.
I keep seeing people say that about that Raphael you brought up earlier, the Raphael that gives all your attackers double strike. I keep seeing people, "Oh, it's a commander card." It's like, no, that's a standard card too. What are you talking about?
It's a commander card till you die to it.
Exactly. Right. It's true of everything. It's like, that's the, Hungry on Playing, great uploader, by the way. It has an upload about how Zur the Enchanter was never meant to be a standard card. It was a commander card. And it's like, I think it's Zur the Enchanter, the 3 mana Zur that turns your enchantments into hexproof lifelink creatures. It's like that card won a Pro Tour, and the whole video is about how that card won a Pro Tour or World Championship.
I don't know if I would say that was always intended to be a commander card, but I could see why people go, "Oh yeah, this is made for a commander." But yeah.
But you'd be surprised just because something looks a little complex or whatever, or it takes more than one turn to get going. Like, oh, this doesn't do anything when it comes into play. Well, neither does Sheldred.
And and
case in point,
sometimes cards do take time to have other cards show up, right? Like the thing we always have to remember is R&D is always working 2 to 3 years ahead, right? So they sometimes go, "Oh, well, we'll make a card in this set because we know we have this one we're already working on, and these would be cool, but we're not going to see them. They're going to be a year apart."
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes that happens.
And sometimes rotation has to happen. There's a card in this set called the Ooze, which is effectively kind of like an Agatha Soul Cauldron. It gets cards out of the graveyard and creates mutagen tokens. It won't see any play until the moment Agatha Soul Cauldron rotates. And then everyone's going to be on it in their sideboard for graveyard shenanigans.
Yeah, maybe.
So, and Ghost Vacuum will rotate at the same time too. So like the Ooze is going to be one of your only real options for that. So sometimes it takes cards a little bit of time, but they will see play,
Yeah, but and that's one of those things too. And I guess to preview it, we will still be doing our Were We Right videos. So where we talk about our picks from overrated, underrated for Lorwyn and if we were correct in what we thought. But even then, we've had some people comment in those videos that, well, y'all should do this like a year after or whatever, because sometimes
Yeah.
cards do take a little bit of time. Unfortunately, it just doesn't make sense for the sequencing of the videos,
It kind of doesn't. Yeah.
but I get where they're
A
coming
year
from.
later, were we right about this set you don't remember? And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like,
But yeah, subscribe. Why don't we just get the pitches in there? Do all the things that make the ding so you can catch those
Mhm.
videos as well. But also, you should go over to Dev's channel because he has stuff. What do you got over there, Dev?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. I'm putting out the top 10 sleepers for the set, which will be a similar video to this with hopefully even more obscure cards than we've mentioned here in the next day or two. Apart from that, we just put up the top 10 commander cards in the set. That's 10 cards from the commander product, but also 5 cards from the main set that I think are good in commander. So check that out. Apart from that, we just finished up preview season and on stream on Thursday. We're going to be getting there, sitting down to rate every single card in the entire set in a speed run. I think I might break my speedrun record this time. So come
Awesome.
check that out on twitch.tv/SBMTGDeb. But if you want the YouTube channel, it is strictly better MTG. And an easy way to do that is just put SBMTG in your search bar and YouTube will know what you're talking about. So come over there and come check us out. Chill on the couch with us.
Yeah, and if you're new here because YouTube just showed you this video potential and you don't know who the hell we are, you should subscribe and check out other things on the channel. We've been doing a fun single card strategy series, so lots of cool cards, that new ways to use them and different things you may not have thought about. We also have a recent video with an arena dev, kind of stamping down a bunch of the myths for arena, so you can check that out. And otherwise, we are now at, I think by the time you watch this, we are a week away from being 6 years of posting videos every single day on YouTube. So yeah, lots of content to check out. But we're going to wrap up there. Like I said, do all the things to make the ding, subscribe, do all the fun stuff, share it with your friends. But for Dev and myself, PowrDragn, that's all we have for now. Remember, be awesome, but most importantly, be awesome to each other.